get an exemption unless you're the biggest group of all time. I get it. So, yeah, that's kind of hard. That's a tough position. If I just feel like they should have a panel. A good way would be just have a panel of government officials or a panel of people who historians, and just do like a vote. It should be like a private vote. But again, it'd be so much corruption behind it. People would be paying for it. Welcome back to the React Room. Your boy Dom K back in here solo dolo again today. We got to get right into it. We got to catch up on these videos. One thing since BTS has come back, I never knew if they had a plan. So you see, when you're going into the military, like they had to go, the Army, I don't know if the plan was, let's make some music before we come out, let's put some music after we come out, and then I think they kind of like just, I don't know, but I'm curious to know if that was the plan. Because a lot of music, of course everybody knows a lot of music drops as you're going, but was there a strategy in place, or was it just kind of like, yo, everybody gonna come out with a solo album, everybody gonna come out with some tracks, and then what we'll do afterwards is we'll just let it go with the flow, like whoever hot. I don't know if that's the case, but I don't know. I don't watch a ton of the Weverse lives because I don't really understand, and it's hard for me to even log on and see what's going on over there. But I know a lot of the subscribers I have do, and they always tell me like, yo, what's going on Weverse? But I don't really know. Like, I've seen people make videos about it, but the videos that I've seen aren't really explaining if that was the plan or not. And it's kind of like, if you watch those videos, they kind of just go with what someone said in an interview. Like, it might be Hitman Bang, or it might be an old RM interview, but it's like, it's not a comprehensive plan. It's more like a one paragraph quote of something that might have happened, or someone said something, and then people kind of piece together with that one or two paragraphs, they kind of piece together a whole segment of what they think happened from there. And that's not the strategy. I don't know. But I saw a video from Bora, and I've been wanting to watch this for a minute. I've just been a little busy, but I haven't seen it. But I want to watch it because, again, BTS is one of my favorite groups, and I appreciate the artistry. I appreciate the craft in which they do things. So I'm just curious to know, like, who drew up this plan? Was it a plan? Did someone come up with it? Did the label come up with it? Like, what was the strategy? Because again, in my mind, because again, I'm not them. I'm not the one going through what they went through. So again, they're gonna come out next spring with an album. That we in December now, so we got about 3-4 more months before we get some music, I believe. But I don't know. Maybe if it was me, I don't know. Maybe my plan would have been, okay, we all drop these solo albums, and then when we get out, maybe a single or something away. I don't know. But again, I'm not the one who spent that long of a time in there. But I'm just curious to know what other people think. So we're gonna check out this video and see what's going on.
In South Korea, all able-bodied male citizens have to enlist in the military for 18 months before turning 28 years old. This, of course, includes K-pop singers. The 7 members of BTS at the peak of their careers enlisted in the military, serving from December of 2022 to June of 2025.
Okay, now I understand now. Before they turn 28, you have to do 18 months, which is a year and a half. So all males are required to do 18. Oh, so it's not females too. It's only males. That's why, okay, that makes sense. That's why I never hear about Blackpink or LE SSERAFIM or Elite or New Jeans. That's why none of them, okay. See, at first I thought it was a rule for everybody. Everybody had to enlist. So I think she said male, if I'm not mistaken.
Do have to go back to Elvis Presley to think of a pop music act of this magnitude entering the military at the absolute peak of their popularity.
First, J-Hope and RM, the third and fourth oldest members, released solo albums. Soon after, Jin, the oldest member, enlisted. Meanwhile, J-Hope, Suga, and Jimin released solo projects. Later, the second and third oldest members enlisted. Meanwhile, the younger members released solo projects. Then the younger members enlisted altogether. For 6 months, months, all of the BTS members were in the military, but they released pre-recorded albums and music videos, so it was like they never left. After these 6 months, Jin, the oldest member, was discharged, and he released a solo project. Then J-Hope.
You see, that's why someone like me, when I first started this in January, I didn't know what the hell anybody was talking about. Because when I started reacting, they were already listed in the military and they had been there for a while. You see, the reason I got confused, like most people, is because they had pre-recorded all of these music and videos. So when you guys was giving me all of this stuff to listen to when I was first learning about it, I was like, yo, all of this music, they were like, no, this is old, but it sounded new. It was coming out like around the times, like, and I was like, how is this music coming out if they're in there? But they pre-recorded all of this and it was a plan. See, that's something else I didn't know.
Discharged, and both members released more solo projects. Soon after, the younger members were all discharged from active duty, and Suga finished his social service, which lasts 21 months instead of 18 because of a shoulder injury. And in no time, the 7 BTS members reunited and started working on their group comeback in June of 2025. Despite not being 7, during these 2.5 years, BTS had new music out at all times. They were unable to release music as a group, but they were solo artists under the same BTS label, and they even promoted themselves as members of BTS. All of this while their bandmates served in the military. This strategy is surprisingly rare in K-pop. The members of male K-pop groups don't tend to enlist together. Instead, they each wait for the moment they turn 28 to enlist, leaving their groups incomplete for many years. This is basically the main reason why so many people applaud BTS. They did not just enlist together, but they also scheduled solo releases right after the other, and they even prepared a lot of music for the 6 months while they were all serving.
Now that's crazy. Now that I think about it, every past video that I've ever watched, especially with people enlisted, because I remember not too long ago, if you remember when I was doing reactions consistently, I was like, yo, why don't I hear about nobody else enlisted? Does anybody care? And the reason they didn't care was because it would always be one person at a time randomly, but the group would still go on doing things. So now that I think about it, I have never heard of, now that I think about it, because I've heard about, I used to go back and look, and I'm like, okay, well, they did it. No one did it at the same time. See, I guess that's part of the plan. See, stupid me, because that's the plan. We all going to do it around the same time. We're only going to miss about 1.5 to 2 years, and then we're going to come back together. Okay.
Strategy maintained the fandom entertained, and it even made the members more popular than they already were while promoting as BTS. That should be the end of it, but it's not. After BTS reunited in June of 2025, many started complimenting them on their effective strategy, their strong bond, and the sacrifices they made to stay as a group. But some K-pop fans believe they should not get this recognition because they were not the first group to enlist together. Therefore, they didn't do anything extraordinary. This really caught my attention because as someone who has been following BTS for a long time, I was surprised to learn that there were actually other K-pop groups that enlisted in the way BTS did. I thought, who are they? Because they are definitely not the biggest groups in K-pop. To the contrary, BTS's strategy was so unbelievable that even hopeful BTS fans were trying to calculate other scenarios in which BTS could go to the military. If they enlisted one by one, they would be reunited in 7 years, meaning 2029. This was the biggest fear. So like many other successful K-pop groups, some fans hoped that 3 or 4 members could keep the group alive with subunits. Others were hopeful to see BTS release music with 1, 2, or 3 members missing at times. Others hoped for the members' closing age to enlist together, so they have a 5-year hiatus.
Now that's crazy. That's crazy if you think about it. What? They came up with strategies because when you think about it, it's hard to go 1.5 years, especially if y'all different age. They were saying, what? By 2029. So, okay, they don't have exemptions for this. This is what I don't understand. I'm not saying like rich people or people who entertain deserve special privileges, but in some cases, you have to you have to make exceptions for some people. But I get it. Then everybody will be in a group and everybody going to try to like, they're going to like, oh, well, if I'm not successful as them, I'm not going to get the right to like, get a pass. But it's crazy because mandatory 2 years. It would actually be better if they made you do this like 18 to 20. I think that'd be more feasible. Like if you was like, you could do this between 18 and 22, because now when you actually get in your group, it's a little bit easier to like, the dynamic. But man, by 2029, I'm looking at this right now, like Sugar enlist 5 left, Jen returns, RMJ Hope enlist 4 left. Nah, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't be good at all. I think that's probably what the conversations were like. We got the biggest group in the world. We can't mess this up.
Instead of a 7-year hiatus. My point is that before 2022, no one was thinking about BTS's actual strategy being a possibility. It was that rare. So why are so many people claiming that BTS's strategy was not extraordinary? To get my answer, I looked into the groups that did it first. And after doing so, I realized that BTS's strategy was even more unbelievable than I thought it was. Whenever BTS fans mention that BTS's strategy was extraordinary and very effective, some K-pop fans go on and on about how this was not an unbelievable plan. So I looked into the other groups people claim did it first, and it turns out that they are correct. Other groups enlisted in similar ways to BTS before BTS. However, I realized that for BTS, this was a difficult decision and a very complex strategy to plan. Meanwhile, the few groups that enlisted in a similar way didn't have to plan or decide much. Let's look at some examples. On and Off is a K-pop boy group under WM Entertainment, a relatively medium label. They were a 7-member group, but one of them left, so they are 6 now. From these 6 members, 1 is Japanese, so he doesn't need to enlist. That leaves 5 members. In November of 2021, the group's leader announced that the 5 Korean members will enlist together. A month later, 1 member enlisted on December 21st, 2 other members enlisted on the 27th, and the 2 last members enlisted on the 28th. The enlisted members even performed together in a military event. This plan was great. Their hiatus was very short, and they reunited after 2 years. So this strategy was very smart. But also, it was pretty much their only choice. The Korean members are so close in age that even if they enlisted when they each turned 28, their hiatus would have been the same as BTS's, very short. The one who made the biggest sacrifice was the youngest member, who enlisted 2 years before his deadline. But the other members were pretty much in the typical enlistment age range for K-pop stars. Either the youngest member enlists early with the others, or he would be the only one left out. So the members definitely had to talk about it and choose to prioritize the group. But this outcome was not unbelievable. All the Korean members were born within the same year and a half. Meanwhile, the BTS members have an age difference of 5.
That's the first thing I thought about before she even brought this up. I said, wait a minute, everybody say 94 and 95. It literally say 94, 95, 94, 95. This says 92, 93, 94, 94, 95, 95, 97. And this is a little bit more hard because, again, if everybody trying to wait to the deadline of 28, see, that's the problem. The problem is everybody's trying to wait to the deadline of 28. If she said before your 28th birthday, I don't understand, because I get it. You trying to train. I guess the companies make you train from a young age. But honestly, if they would think about it, like, it's better to do this. Again, I'm not in the Korean society, but I'm just thinking in my head, why wouldn't you? I know labels want to get you young and help, but wouldn't it be smarter to be like, if you know you're going to sign someone and you know, like, I would just be like, yo, go 18 to 20. Like, if I'm watching you since you was 15, 16, 17, and I want to sign you, I'm going to just say, yo, like, you're not debuting for a while anyway. Just go to the thing. Do it 18 to 20. Come out. We can finish, because most people don't even debut at 20, 21, 22. Most people don't debut today later on anyway. So I don't understand why you wouldn't want to get it out the way early and then be done with it. But I don't know. Maybe it's got to be a reason that everybody, I know why the men doing it, because it makes me think like, well, if I'm in training and I'm going from 16, 17, 18, all the way to like 23, 24, 25. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna come out and I'm buzzing and I wanna enjoy my fame because I'm about to miss 2 years and there's no guarantee we're gonna be good once we come out. So yeah, that's a tough scenario to be in.
Years. A similar example to on and off that K-pop stans mention a lot is Shinhwa. By 2007, each of the 6 members of Shinhwa created their own labels to promote a solo artist, which they did until they started enlisting one by one. The difference with BTS is that during this military period, there was no music, group, or solo. However, I have to highlight that this was probably the best decision for them because they are very close in age. BTS, like many other K-pop groups with many members, are not. That's why this strategy was surprising to see in BTS, but not in this group. It was actually expected. Like on and off, there was no big sacrifice. They simply followed the law. HYBE, formerly known as Beast, are also very close in age, so they enlisted when it was time for them to enlist.
And just for the record, on and off, Shinhwa, and HYBE, I have never heard of any of these groups. And again, I'm not from Korea. I'm not a huge K-pop fan. I like K-pop, some of it. I'm not a huge K-pop fan, but I've heard of a lot of groups. I probably heard of over 30, 40, 50 groups. I'm talking about just the names. I don't ever forget a name. I've never heard of any of these groups. So the fact that they're talking about all of this, and I'm like, okay, you're saying that they did this, but why hasn't anyone talked about it? Probably because these groups aren't as big as they think they are. These groups can't be as big as they think. Because I've heard of all of the big groups. And it's like, I even heard about the big groups from 2009, 2008, 2010. I've never heard of any of these groups. And I'm not taking anything away from what they did or their sacrifice. I'm just saying that if a bunch of people do something, that big fish has to do it for people to really notice. So you can't say, okay, they wasn't the first, but like, okay, no one was the first, like, the first people to play basketball wasn't Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? The first people to play football wasn't Tom Brady. The first people to play soccer wasn't Messi and Ronaldo. But when they do something, we're going to know more than the first people because it matters a little bit more. So they do deserve credit for doing it. So I know that's the uncomfortable truth that people don't want to hear, but you got to get off of that hating of BTS because you're mad that your group doesn't get the fame. Your group will get there. Your group will get there. Just keep working.
While serving, one member left the group, so after a 2.5-year hiatus, they had a comeback as a 4-member group. Once again, this strategy was not a decision, it was just the law. Another similar example to the previous groups is 2PM. The 5 Korean members of the 6-member group enlisted when it was time for each of them to enlist. Because of their proximity in age, they finished their military service in a span of 3 years. Despite their short hiatus, they didn't prioritize the group. Instead, they had one comeback and then they focused on their solo careers.
You see, and that's why that's a dangerous game to play with that military stuff, waiting till later in your career. Because once you taste a little success, and that's why I give BTS all the credit in the world, because once you taste a little bit of success, you want to prove that you're more valuable than people think in the group. And they can say that's not the case, but that's always the case. It's the case with every big group that ever came out. I told you I've named them. NSYNC, 98 Degrees, Destiny's Child. I told you, hey, Blackpink, look at them currently. Just look at them currently. Look at what they did on their comeback tour. It was okay, minimal effort, but I think Jenny loved putting out like Jenny and having the success on the global charts that she did. I think Lisa, she likes being in Louis Vuitton ads. I think she likes being a solo star. I think Rosé doesn't really care, but you saw her success with #1 records and being with Bruno Mars and getting all of that love and all of them awards. Jisoo just put out a song with, I forgot the guy named Zayn, getting her first chart in the States. Like, and then, you know, I just think that you want to be like that. Where BTS is kind of like they all do it, so it doesn't matter. Like, okay, if someone comes out with a top 5 song or a #1 song, it's like, okay, cool, it's a great accomplishment, but we already done this. I just think that it's really about that ego, and that's what I was scared about BTS for a while. But I'm glad to know that that's not the case. But man, I've never heard. I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but I don't know who any of these guys are. I don't know Shine either, and it's no disrespect. It's just like, I get the point. We have to talk about the groups that did it because they're gonna get mad. But let's be real. No one remembers Shine like that. Like I don't know who these guys are.
Another group people say enlisted together is SHINee. By December of 2018, SHINee had 4 members, and 3 of them enlisted together because they were very close in age. The oldest member was actually about to turn 29 when he enlisted, but he still made sure to enlist by 28. The other 2 members enlisted just in time, only some months before their 28th birthday. In other words, they enlisted together because it was time for them to enlist. Meanwhile, the youngest member released solo music and became a member of another group. So after the older members were discharged, they reunited quickly, and soon after, the youngest member enlisted. This left the group incomplete for almost 5 years. Although this turned out great for them, I think we cannot include this group in this list. This strategy was not intentionally followed for the longevity of the group. Each member enlisted when they had to enlist, and the group was incomplete for many years. Another group some people like to mention enlisted together is TVXQ. And while that is true, there is only 2 members in this group. One member enlisted in July of 2015 and the other enlisted in November of 2015. Some months after their discharge, they released...
Okay, come on now. Come on now. We can't talk about a 2-member group. Of course it's smart if you do it in a 2-member group. Like, you could be 27 and I could be 24. And if we're hot, why would I wait 3 or 4 years to go on a 1.5-year hiatus when you can just go in at 28 and then I could go in at 25 and then we're out in a 1.5 years at the same time, and now we don't have to worry about it no more. Of course, it's super easy with 2 people. You don't get any credit for that. I'm sorry.
Comeback album. So as a group part of a big 3 label, they did benefit from enlisting together, but the plan was not as complex as BTS's. Sky, formerly known as Into It, is a K-pop male group formed under MMO Entertainment, a small/medium label now known as Wake One. They debuted as an 8-member group in 2017. A member left in 2018, another member left in 2019, and in 2020, the remaining 6 members announced they would continue the group independently. But because of the COVID pandemic, the Korean members decided to instead enlist together in November and December of 2020. This was the most surprising example I could find, because like BTS, the members are not that close in age. The youngest member was enlisting almost 3 years before his deadline. So why are we not hearing more about this? When people talk about how amazing BTS strategy is, the conversation is mostly about how beneficial this is for the longevity of the group. This strategy allows the public to 1. Not forget about them because there's constant new music, and 2. Make the group reunion happen as soon as possible. However, Sky became an independent group and then enlisted altogether. They were discharged in 2022, and since then, they haven't released any music as a group. They only held a couple of fan meetings without their Malaysian number. By the time I'm making this video, it's been 3 years since they were discharged. Just so you have an idea, after this group was discharged, BTS enlisted, released solo music, were discharged, reunited, and worked on their comeback album. During this time, this group only released vlogs and short videos. What I'm guessing is that because they don't have a label, they cannot enjoy the benefits of enlisting at the same time. Back in 2020, when they announced their enlistment, some fans were scared of this strategy because without a label and with how fast the K-pop industry goes, a complete absence may work against them. So they did go and return together, but the outcome did not happen. Their fans are still waiting for an actual comeback. The reason why I analyzed this group's enlistments is because I wanted to understand the reason why this strategy was so shocking when BTS did it and not them. The simplest answer, of course, is that BTS is the biggest group. So when they do it, it becomes news. But I believe that answer erases BTS's efforts. Like I already explained, these groups enlisted together because they had no other choice. They are so close in age that whether they decided to prioritize the group or disband and go solo, they would have still enlisted almost all together. But this lucky situation is not common in K-pop. The 7 examples I gave may seem like a lot, but they are actually nothing. The other hundreds of K-pop groups disband before enlistment or enlist.
Okay. I didn't see one example that equivalent to what they did, though. Well, I did. It was one. I guess you can say the guy who entered in I forgot what was the group, but the kid who entered in 1995, he went 3 years old. That's the only example that's somewhat like it. But the rest of these groups were either they were super 1 or 2 years apart in age, or it was kind of like they didn't have a choice. So I mean, it's hard to give you credit for something that you have to do. And on top of this, I'm not saying BTS didn't have, they had to go too, but I think it was the way they did it. The way they did it. Like none of these other groups, from what I'm hearing, they put out all solo projects and music to be released as they were in there. Did they have it planned to where even when they was coming out, new music was happening? I don't think they did. They didn't. HYBE did this to perfection from what I see. From what I'm seeing and what I'm noticing, they did it to absolute perfection. And I'm sorry, man. Like the last group we just saw, you cannot not, come on now. I'm all about being independent, but you can't not have a label and then come back and then not have any music ready, not have a plan. That's just crazy.
At different times. Actually, the examples I showed were so rare that it was hard for me to find them because a lot of the examples K-pop fans gave turned out to be false. I saw people mentioning EXO, but they were incomplete for 6 years because of their military service. Others mentioned Super Junior, but they were incomplete for 9 years. Mentioning them as examples of groups that follow this military strategy before BTS is just disingenuous or completely misunderstanding BTS's plan. After my research, I can say that the only group that intentionally went out of their way to follow a similar strategy to BTS before BTS was Sky, a group that seemingly doesn't have the resources to have a comeback and enjoy the benefits of this enlistment strategy. When I come across these conversations, I personally feel a sentiment of rejection to BTS's efforts by K-pop fans. According to them, BTS fans are insufferable for giving them so much credit. Some even say that BTS fans have K-pop history ignorance. But what about the media's reaction and the strategy's impact in the K-pop industry? If so many groups did it first, why was it not revolutionary back then? Like I mentioned, it was not revolutionary because this plan was some groups' only choice, and the ones who actually chose this strategy didn't receive the same benefits. So how can you really say that others successfully did it first?
Let me stop you. It's because they're not big. That's the truth of the matter. Of course, it can't be revolutionary. You can't be a revolutionary if no one cares. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Again, you can use sports as an example. You got people who play in the YMCA. If they go enlist in the military, it's not going to be the same as someone who plays for a Korean first division basketball team. If you're on a national team and you're playing the Olympics, or you're someone who's a star in your league, in your country, it's not the same as a local guy playing at the YMCA in Seoul. You're not a revolutionist. You just went early with your friends. This case is just, it's a lot of people in K-pop. It's hundreds of groups. I told you, I saw the list of everybody that debuted with BTS. It was like 40 or 50 groups in 2013. Only one left. That's what typically happens. So you just showing me all of these groups, and you keep saying they're third level and fourth level and fifth. That's why no one cares. I'm not saying like nobody cares, but like the majority of the world didn't care because you don't have any top singles in the world like that. You're not hitting global charts. Your music isn't known. You don't have 9 videos with 1 billion views. I'm sorry, that's the way the world works.
Some people like mentioning that other groups didn't have the resources and dedicated fanbase to release solo music in a schedule similar to BTS's, and that is completely true. But why is BTS's sacrifice being erased in this entire conversation? No other group had to go through what BTS went through to make this plan a reality, yet they still chose it. In 2021, BTS was at the peak of their careers. They established themselves as not just the biggest group in the world, but also as one of the biggest artists at the moment. But this was not supposed to happen. Jin, the oldest member of BTS, was turning 28 in December of 2020, meaning that he had to enlist in the military. His birthday was on a Friday. So on Tuesday of that same week, South Korea's parliament rushed to announce a revision of the country's Military Service Act. This lets K-pop stars postpone their military service until they turn 30, but only if they have received an Order of Cultural Merit, a medal awarded by the president. BTS has been the only K-pop group ever to receive this medal, making the public name this revision the BTS Law, since it was basically created just for them. They are literally the only ones who meet the criteria. So as BTS continued releasing music and having massive success all throughout 2021, South Korea's lawmakers started debating about a possible military exemption for recording artists who have extraordinary impact globally. But something to note here is that the debate was really about BTS only. BTS broke massive barriers for K-pop artists to participate in the Western music industry since 2017, but the most popular K-pop idols were enlisting in the military all these years, and no one was debating a K-pop exemption. Government officials only started considering a K-pop exemption because the 2 extra years they gave BTS were not enough. Jin was soon turning 30, and BTS's popularity didn't die down. Instead, it increased astronomically. So the meetings for a possible exemption for extraordinary artists like BTS started, and they were an absolute mess. BTS and their label decided to not get involved at all. Remember that the public was really divided about this topic, and many considered this preferential treatment. So the ones debating BTS's future and advocating in favor of military exemptions for K-pop artists were actually government officials and other K-pop labels. Busan's mayor, the Culture, Sports and Tourism Minister, the representative of the People Power Party, and other government officials wanted BTS to serve through an alternative program similar to athletes and classical musicians. But the criteria for this would have most likely been the same as for the 2-year postponement. And that was a big part of the debate. It was beneficial for K-pop labels to support BTS's exemption because their K-pop groups may also get an exemption. The problem was that BTS's achievements were too extraordinary, and no K-pop group could even meet the criteria for the 2-year postponement. 26 K-pop labels, including the big 3 agencies SM, JYP, and YG Entertainment, filed an objection to the Ministry of National Defense represented by the Korean Music Content Association. They said the amendment was unrealistic and unfair, saying it is near impossible for K-pop musicians to qualify before the age of 28. And that is true. BTS were actually too young to receive the Order of Cultural Merit in 2018, but the president gave them the medal as an exception because their achievements were truly extraordinary, never seen before in history. The K-pop labels said they were not blindly asking to lower the standards, but instead for the ministry to come up with standards that are not this extraordinary. In other words, K-pop labels were not asking to lower the standard, they were just asking to lower the standard. So picture this, K-pop labels advocated for military exemptions for BTS and other non-extraordinary musicians. Some lawmakers were advocating for only BTS to receive exemptions because their cities and government projects benefit from BTS only. Other lawmakers were against BTS and any K-pop artist receiving military exemptions. The public was divided, BTS was quiet, and BTS's label only asked lawmakers to reach a decision. But
I understand both sides of that. The labels are probably like, yo, no one's gonna do what they just did, so it's impossible for you to say an exemption. So I do understand that aspect of it. I don't think it's wrong for the labels to be like, yo, can we get a realistic standard that we can meet? It's hard to get these medals and this much stuff, and they got an exception. So, and if they're the biggest group of all time from there, so you're basically saying like no one can get an exemption unless you're the biggest group of all time. I get it. So, yeah, that's kind of hard. That's a tough position. If I just feel like they should have a panel. A good way would be just have a panel of government officials or a panel of people who historians, and just do like a vote. It should be like a private vote. But again, it'd be so much corruption behind it. People would be paying for exemptions and all of that. So I get it. It's a tough position to be in.
Look at all of these mess. Even the ones agreeing to give BTS an exemption debated about the alternative service. Would it be a full exemption or a partial exemption? Should they perform and serve in the military at the same time, or should they serve in the military for a shorter period of time? There were many meetings, but instead of coming up with decisions, they announced delay after delay. So in the end, all the BTS members decided to terminate their 2-year postponement and enlist in the military. After this decision, the government stopped debating about a possible military exemption for K-pop artists, because it was about BTS this entire time. What I'm trying to say is that while all of these K-pop labels begged for a 2-year postponement for the members of their groups, BTS, the only ones with an actual chance to receive exemptions, quit all of that. They said, thank you for the 2-year extension, but we're enlisting together either way. The younger members could have actually waited for the older members to enlist, have a full group comeback and a tour, and then go to the military when it was their time to go, prioritizing their personal lives and even solo careers. But they didn't. They enlisted together and up to 4 years earlier because they thought about the longevity of the group. It was not just luck or the privilege of pre-recording and releasing multiple solo projects during these 3 years. They chose their own future together when their own government and the K-pop industry were trying to play with it. That sacrifice is the essence of the BTS strategy.
So, with that being said, I understand. I get it. It's just, you gotta understand, man, like these people is in the government office having debates on giving someone the exemption that no one ever had. These other groups, I don't think it was a conversation. So when you say like they're not the first group, they're the first group that people actually cared about. Like, this is what people gotta understand. Just because a few thousand people or a few tens of thousands of people care is not like the world's gonna care. And again, that can sound insensitive, but that's the problem with the world today. Everybody's so PC and they won't just say what it means. BTS has these guys in the Korean government office arguing with each other, deciding should they get a full exemption, should it be 30, should it be 28? It's just, you can't convince me that On and Off and Into It and all these other groups, it was no conversation, it was no thought. Those people was drinking coffee in the Capitol, going about their day, not even thinking about it. When they went in, they didn't care. When they went out, they didn't care. The world cares when these guys go in and when they come out. So at the end of the day, you can be mad at the fans all you want for saying, oh, you give them too much credit. No, I'm not giving them too much credit. The world giving them too much credit. Their government's giving them too much credit. That's who's giving them too much credit. The people in Korea, the government, the fans worldwide, it's everybody. You can't get mad, but I just hate when people hate on other groups, not because of the music, but because they jealous of their fan base. It's like, no, come with a good critique. Say you don't like the music and tell me why you don't like the music. If someone just say they don't like BTS music, I don't argue with them. I might be like, you crazy, I don't think that, but like, well, tell me why. And I've had this conversation with some people and they were like, well, I don't like this part of it. I'm like, okay, that's understandable. It's a real reason. But when you come with that, oh, I don't like the way they sound. Okay, well, shut up. What you mean you don't like the way they sound? You don't like the way their music sounds? You don't like the beats? You don't like the flow? You don't like the vocals? Nah, man, I just don't like the music they make. Okay, you're an idiot. Done talking to you. That's how these fans sound. Oh, you're giving them too much credit. Oh, why? Well, my group did it first and we didn't get any of this credit. Who's your group? Never heard of them. Never will. Oh, man. But in the end, excellent strategy by HYBE. Excellent sacrifice by the guys. Like they said, they could have did this a whole nother way. The three members could have just dropped solo stuff, waited till they were 28, did everything they needed to do, peaked at the fame, They didn't know. They chose to do it together. It was a great plan, great execution, and you can't get mad because it worked. And now we're about 2-3 months away from more music and a new tour, and hey, you just got to get mad. I want you to get real mad. I want you to ball up your fists and grit your teeth and be like, oh, I can't stand them. I want you to get real mad because the music's coming whether you like it or not. So at the end of the day, great strategy, great plan, flawless execution, 10 out of 10. So you guys tell me in the comments, man, what do you think about the BTS military strategy? Was it successful? Was it not successful? And tell me what you think about these fans from other groups that they keep talking about, these groups that no one knows. And I'm sorry to say it like that, but like, how do you guys feel about when they take shots at you as BTS fans and then it be a group that you never even heard of? And it's not the group, it's the fans. Like, they want credit for something that they want you to know that you don't know. And it's like, I just don't understand how can you guys take so many shots and just not, eventually I would say something. But again, we always take the high road, but I just want to know what you guys think about that. And, you know, just let me know in the comments, man. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Always with love. Oh, and shout out to Boris Magazine. It's another 10 out of 10 video. But like I said, man, always with love. Peace.